Hey everybody, welcome to what is officially the inaugural episode of the Inside Out podcast. Of course, it being called that because as people that make up City Point Church, we live the gospel with those inside the family. We bring the gospel to those outside of the family. So this will be a podcast that we will present each week from Pastor Brent and myself, and we'll try to have some different people on regularly. So this week, we've got Pastor Jordan Paris with us. Why don't you say hi to everybody, Jordan?
Hi, everyone.
But before we get into anything this week, I want to ask Pastor Brent. Brent, what's the reason behind what we're doing?
Yeah, thanks, Michael. So the intent here actually goes back probably 6 to 8 months, maybe even close to a year ago, where I started feeling like we needed to expand our communications throughout the church, throughout the City Point Church family, specifically from our pastors, and maybe even more specifically from me. Given that our main platform is Sunday morning, that's a limited. I have a limited window to share information, and mostly, obviously, I'm preaching a sermon from a text in the Bible, and so being able to talk about other things that are going on in the life of the church, other kind of culture building things, leadership and vision type things within the church, as well as just to share stories and just make sure that we're all kind of tracking with the narrative of what's going on as we're living out the gospel together. And so I set this up as one of my 2020 objectives. As a staff, I lead the church staff through this process every year where we sit down, look at our job descriptions, look at our vision, our values, and each staff member has to then articulate a set of objectives for the year, maybe 5 to 7 things that they want to work on from their portfolio. And then I help them refine that, and then we kind of establish it as that's the plan for each one of us. And I do that myself, and one of mine was to expand the communications of the church specifically from me. And so we tried to think through what's a good way to do that. We're obviously on social media and that sort of thing. Thought about a blog. Writing is a very enjoyable but labor-intensive thing for me. And so sometimes I can say in 5 or 10 minutes what it takes me an hour or 2 to write. So just going off of that, it seemed like a podcast might be the way to do this.
Yeah, so we're really looking forward to each and every single week. Just being able to share a little bit, letting the people that are part of City Point and people who aren't a part of City Point yet know a little bit more about us, and then maybe even tackling some issues from time to time. So one of the things that everybody's going through is quarantine, right? You know, some are far more quarantine than others. And I thought this would be interesting because Jordan, you're on, and it's just you and your wife in your house.
Mm-hmm.
There's me, who's a couple years older than you, so I have young children at home. And then Brent, you've got teenagers at home. So I kind of want to hear your quarantine experience from your perspective. So like for my wife and I, when everything first started, this was it March? It's mid-March. And my children stayed the night at my parents' house. This is before everything kind of got real serious. But things were closed down. And so my wife and I, it was 5 o'clock, we were by ourselves. And we ordered takeout and we sat and ate dinner, and it was 5:30. Now, usually when we don't have kids and we go on a date, it's like we're going out to the movies or we're going out to a show or having dinner, and it's a night out in the town. It was a night in without kids, and it was 5:30, and we're like, I told Allie, I was like, I have to call Jordan to see like what do single people do without kids, because it was just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. So maybe you can give some tips for us, Jordan, on how to behave in quarantine when you don't have kids.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have any tips. I just been enjoying it. I love it. Spend extra time with my wife. I always want to spend more time with her. So yeah, she does school from home and I work from home right now. And yeah, we've just been enjoying every single moment of it. And yeah, I think for us, we've also realized that the whole quarantine isn't forever. So we've really tried to, not that it's a good thing that's happening, but for us, one of the positives is, yeah, we are trying to soak up all these moments together. So yeah, we really enjoyed it, trying to be extra intentional and doing other things. And going outside, fishing, things like that. But it's been good.
Wait, you've been doing some fishing. I hear that. So tell us about the fish that you've caught. This is good.
Yeah, they're still in the water.
Oh, because you practice catch and release, is that it?
Sure, let's go with that. Yeah.
No, it's because he hasn't caught any fish yet. That's fine.
Not yet. It's a work in progress.
You're gonna get them.
No. What we want to know is what happens when you finally do catch the fish.
Well, yeah. Piper will hold it. She'll get it, and she'll clean it, and I'll eat it. I'm not touching a fish, though.
Oh, brother. All right.
Thank goodness for your wife. Thank goodness for your wife.
She's strong.
She's strong. Nice.
So we, like, family of 5, right? During this time, we live in a normal size home, I feel like, for this area. So I've been working from my garage, as you guys know, via Zoom calls every week. And as the days have been nicer in the afternoons, I'll leave the garage door open, just to kind of let some airflow in, and so it doesn't feel like I'm in a cave. But one of the challenges is our house has become kind of like the hub for neighbor kids. And so there's always kids that are coming by, driving by, checking to see if my boys are outside. And one of our neighbor kids was yelling at me and running toward our garage while I was on a phone call. And I have my headphones in on the phone call. And when these are in, they're super convenient, but you can't tell somebody I'm on the phone because you have earphones in. So he's running towards the garage. And so I get out of my chair and run and hit the close garage door button. And I shut the neighbor kid out. It was the worst thing I've ever done. I felt so awful. I was like, no, I don't have time to talk to you, kid. Get out of here. It was bad. I need an office. Every time I see you, Brent, and that buckhead behind you, I'm like, someday.
Someday you're going to be a big game hunter, or someday you're going to have a home study.
I don't know if I'm ever going to be a big game hunter. That's just not in the cards for me, but
okay.
But maybe a home study. We'll see.
Yeah. Yes. Well, yeah, I'm recording from my home study. People that I've spent been so much time on Zoom. I'm pretty weary of Zoom at this point, but I'm sitting at my desk right now in my home study, and so I'm not like so many people. You watch television and everybody that's on a interview from their home, they've got props behind them, their favorite book or a book they're trying to sell, and it's just like a moment. It reminds me of the Truman Show, where all of a sudden there's this ad that pops up in the middle of everybody's lives. It's so weird, but yeah. So for me, the quarantine, it's funny because I had a little bit of a fantasy, like, oh wow, this is going to be interesting. But actually, I think I could use a little different pace. Things are going to slow down a little bit. I'll have some more time to do some reading. I call it a fantasy because the reality is I started a book. The book that I'm reading right now is still the book that I'd started before the quarantine started, and I still am like only 2/3 of the way through it. There's some weeks in this I haven't read a single page, which is not normal for me. A lot of times I'm getting through a book every couple of weeks, and so it's just like crazy. So things haven't slowed down, even though I've been more stationary, working out of my home office with all of the work of trying to stay on top of the details of the church and all of the communications and all of that. I feel like I'm busier. I feel like I'm more kind of, I don't know. I've heard some statistical data, scientific data about how tiresome Zoom is. And I'm like, yeah, I'm glad they're saying that because I'm feeling it, kind of a Zoom fatigue. But super thankful to have a home office. It is right off the main living space in our house. And so I've got a white noise machine that can kind of help with that. But I don't want to lose sight of the fact that, thank God, I'm not having to work from my dining room table or from, not to say anything negative, Michael, but I'm glad I don't have to work from my garage. And so
is it still the birds? Is your white noise machine the birds? Is that?
It's kind of like some water and birds and noise behind it. Have you heard it before?
Of course I have.
Yeah.
We don't have ceilings in our office building. So
Oh, no. Those are the ones I have in yeah, that's the
okay.
ones I have in my office. It's not quite the same. So the ones I
I
have
was
in the
gonna say, if
church
you ever
office,
come to it, yeah, if people ever come into our office and you hear the sounds of flowing water and birds coming from Brent's office,
yeah.
that's when you know not to bother him. Like he's in like get it done mode.
Well, it's because, that's part of the quarantine thing, as well as I study from home. My study times are typically Tuesday mornings, all day Wednesday, and then whatever needs to happen on Thursday mornings. And so I'm already studying from home, so that's a normal thing for me. But beyond there, I need to get out and I, get to the office, get out with people, all of that. And that's the difference for me. The quarantine has just created a lot of extra work. And so I'm spending way more time in my home study. The kids are pretty occupied. Jesse's continuing to work as well from, remotely. Titus works at Tractor Supply now, and so that's been essential work from the very get-go, and he's actually picked up quite a few hours. So along with him finishing up high school and then working, he's been out quite a bit. And Sophie is just a super disciplined person, so she's always working on schoolwork during the day and such. And so probably the biggest change for us, one of the kind of personally, was Jesse and I have Fridays off together. And so with the kids not being in school, we lost Fridays together. And so that was like, oh man, what are we going to do? So right away, we instantly said Wednesday's date night, non-negotiable. Everybody gets to fend for themselves as far as dinner goes that night, because Jesse and I are going out on a date. And most of the time we go out and maybe we'll get some carry out and just sit in my truck next to the river or out in some field, where you can see the sunset, and or go for a walk or something like that. But Wednesday night's date night. So I really that's been really nice to be able to have that to look forward to, partly to spend time with her, but also to break up the monotony. And then the other major change is we got a dog. So Jesse wanted a dog for Mother's Day, and so we got a puppy, and here she comes actually right now. Should I show her?
Yeah. Yes. I think you probably should. I think you probably should, for all the people that are watching anyway. This will make for bad listening. But if you're watching, then you can see a precious puppy that you drove 9 hours round trip for.
Say that what?
So that was a massive trip to go get that.
Yeah, we found her down in Redmond. It's hard to find puppies. She's a purebred mini dachshund. And so she right now, she went to the vet yesterday. She's 3 pounds. She's 10 weeks old, and she's not papered. One of her parents was papered, one of her parents was not, and so we didn't pay the astronomical prices that people have to pay. But she's a purebred mini dachshund, which stands for, Dachshund is a compound German term, right? I love this, partly because I'm German, a little German in me, and so Dachs in German means badger. Hund means dog, and so she is the badger dog. And you would not believe, since we've gotten her, you would not believe how many badgers we have in our house. They're they're out, and she's always trying to get them. She's the badger dog. So my little dachshund, Lottie, her name's Lottie. So she loves everybody, but she's Jesse's dog. And we love her. She's pretty awesome. So nobody else is home, so I'm kind of dog sitting right now. So hopefully everything's going to be okay during this recording.
As long as she doesn't chew up sneakers, then she's all right.
Oh, she's learning, but she's just a pup, so she's got a lot of learning to do. But she's been a lot of fun. Actually, she's been just she's a really sweet dog, but full of feist as well. And so it's been a lot of fun. Jordan is losing his mind right now.
She's so cute. It's unreal. Unreal.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like Jordan is picking up fishing.
Yeah.
You guys got a dog. This is quarantine is changing hobbies and lifestyles. It feels like you're going to come out of this an avid fisherman.
Oh, yeah.
And
I'll
so here's what I want to do. There are words and phrases that we are familiar with now that we had no idea existed in January. So I'm just gonna I'm just going to say some of these words or phrases, and I just want to hear your immediate thoughts. Okay, unfiltered
Is it a free for all
is
so we can interrupt each other?
yes,
Okay.
yes. Okay, and ready?
Yep.
Social distancing.
Social distance. Yeah, who would have ever thought of social distancing like that was a thing, right? And now all of a sudden it's a way of life for us, something that you're supposed to adhere to, and you want to, and you try to. So I go social distancing, yes. First word, yes. Maybe necessary. Second word, pretty much impossible overall.
Okay.
I just think of that woman at Walmart who gave me the stink eye when I went down the one-way aisle the wrong way. That's all I can think about. Yeah, it's impossible to maintain it. I think it's good, but yeah, I just think of all the weird looks people give going out. It's tough.
Yeah. And
I
it's
don't want to
awkward,
hear.
isn't it awkward? Like you go up to somebody. I hadn't had a handshake for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then I ran into a guy and we shook hands, and I was like, "Whoa, how about that? That's my first handshake." And that
Yeah.
was our friend Ryan Gaither. So it's just a weird thing. Like before, you'd shake hands or you'd give a hug, and it was just like normal. And now you're like, should I? Which direction's the wind blowing? It's so weird. It's so weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
Very challenging. I don't want to hear the term social distancing anymore. It's just one of those things that comes across on your social media news feed and your news articles every day, and it's just ready for it to be finished. Like not the thing itself, but just talking about it. Okay, this one might be specifically for Brent. Okay, but Jordan, feel free to answer. Zoom.
Yeah, Zoom. First word that comes to mind, exhaustion. There's been days when I've had like 5 or 6 Zoom meetings a day. So I just got off one. Now I'm doing this one, and then I've got another one at 4:30. I'm like, come on, this is like too much. It's too much. I'm
Okay,
glad
this
for
is
it.
not exhausting.
What's
This
that?
is enjoyable. This is
Well,
enjoyable.
I mean, yeah,
okay.
when it's with you guys, then it's more refreshing. That's maybe the word I think of. But no, it just is. It's always enjoyable when I do it with whoever it is I'm talking to. But it's like, man, I'm pretty tired of Zoom meetings.
Yeah, it's kind of tough.
Yeah, I'm just tired of I sit in the same spot every time that I do these, and so I'm kind of just ready for a change of scenery. Yeah, I'm in my study room and same old, same old.
And I'm grateful for the platform for sure. Like it would be really, I don't know, it'd be probably a whole lot lonelier for people without the platform. But there's nothing like being face to face. Jordan and I just went to lunch. We have once a month we go to lunch on Thursday afternoon, and we didn't know what to do, so we went, and I still had a table and 2 chairs in the back of my truck from a Wednesday night date night with Jesse, where we got carry out, Olive Garden, drove to the Lutheran church in town, not too far from our house. They have some grass, and we set the table and chairs up in the grass and sat there and ate our Olive Garden. And so that was a really nice date night. Well, I still had those in my truck. So Jordan and I actually got some Thai food, Taste of Thai. Shout out to Taste of Thai in Burlington, super good. And then we went into the lonely part of the Fred Meyer parking lot, and
Oh man,
at the table and chairs outside, and ate our lunch. There's just nothing like face-to-face conversations. Although we were pretty much social distanced, weren't we?
Yeah, we're good.
We were on opposite sides of the
Yeah.
table, not
Good
facing
work.
one another. Yeah.
Good
I did
work.
get a little uncomfortable because the wind started blowing. And
Yeah, it was a windy.
I was like, "Whoa, here it comes!" I was trying to get stuff, but yeah, it was
Your
good.
creativity is inspiring. Truly is.
Yeah.
It truly is. Okay, I have one more for you. I want to ask the both of you because both of you are germ averse. Let's say, is that your
I thought that was the word. I'm like, wait, germiverse? I've never heard of that word.
germ averse?
No,
Averse to germs.
I have an aversion to germs. Yes.
I'm just particular.
Yeah.
Very particular with germs.
Not particular. It's
I'm
more than that.
Certain germs I'm okay with, certain ones I'm not.
Jordan is very controlled and you're very mature, but if someone touches your food, either on purpose or accidentally, like unhinged would be the word that I would use for that,
Yeah.
for you.
Like
But
the one time where
here's
you touched my food, recorded it, and then I ate it, and then an hour later you showed me that recording.
100%.
That was
Yes.
unreal.
That was it was one of the
Our
best
level
things
of
I've ever
trust
done.
was depleted there, but anyway.
That pretty much disintegrated your friendship down to its foundation, and it's been being rebuilt since.
Yeah, slowly but surely.
Trust is a fragile thing.
Grace,
sure.
only the grace of God is building this back up.
Amen.
Yeah. The Paris's haven't been over for dinner for a while. It's always, let's just come over and let's just hang out, no food is involved. Okay, so here's my phrase. Droplet transmission.
I thought you were going to say herd immunity, because I like that phrase, herd immunity. That is a great, but droplet transmission.
Droplet transmission, doesn't it just sound gross? Like,
It does.
and especially more so when you realize that it's like a regular part of being out in public. Droplet transmission.
Yes. So I've had to go to a certain, I don't know, should I say names? I mean, I don't mind mentioning the Taste of Thai, but I said Ace Hardware. So that's a great store. I love that local store. And so I'm there getting some stuff because I'm working on some things for the house and whatever, right? Just little home projects, fix the fence, that sort of stuff. But there's a, now I'm probably in trouble, but there's an employee there who, I don't know, like they're supposed to wear face masks or what, but he doesn't. And he talks like lots of air just flies out of his mouth when he's talking, and he laughs and he's kind of loud. And I'm probably in trouble for saying that, but when I think of droplet transmission, I picture that guy in my head right now.
All right, so what we wanted to do is take a second to go over our regathering plan as a church. Now, if you've been paying attention to the news, or I'm sure you've seen on social media, that our state has a reopening plan. Now, as a church, we never close, so it's not a reopening plan, it's a regathering plan. And what we've done is we've kind of mirrored it to match the state's plan as far as their phases and what they're allowing as far as sizes and types of groups to gather at different times during the summer. So Brent, why don't you go ahead and take us through that a little bit, if you would, what that approach is going to look like for City Point Church.
Yeah, so we studied this out. I wrote up a plan, submitted to our pastors and elders, and we as a leadership team and some of our staff revised it, refined it, and have published it. It's on our website, and right on the homepage you can see a button at citypointchurch.com and the regathering plan. So, having been in the online world only since March 16th, Sunday, March 16th, we are going to stay in that platform by necessity through the month of May. May 31st will be our final online only setting, and then we move into the phase 2 of the state's plan for reopening the state in that. So we're going to, like our state's doing, kind of incrementally get back to in-person gatherings. So starting June 7th, and for those 3 weeks, June 7th, 14th, and 21st, we are continuing to do the online gathering, but then we're also opening up to house churches. So we're in the process right now of identifying host homes, and we will be equipping those homes with how to lead a house church. They will still participate in the online gathering, so they're going to watch together online, but then we're providing discussion guides, pre-gathering conversation type stuff, prayer guides, all of that sort of thing. And the size of those for those 3 weeks are whoever the immediate family is, so however many people live in that house plus 5. And so that's kind of the phase 2. Then starting June 28th, the door gets opened a little bit more, where we're going to, of course, continue to do the online gatherings, continue to do the house church model as well. And that, with regard to the house church, that window opens a little bit more for them. So since in that phase, which would be the state's phase 3, groups of 50 or less can get together, our house church model grows in that it doesn't just have to be the immediate family plus 5. It can be up to 50 people, although I don't know any house churches that would want that many people in their house.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the growth of the house church setting is in play. The other thing is that's when we start, June 28th, we start our in-person gatherings at our facility on Cedardale Road. So again, it's 50 people or less. We'll have our essential team there, 1 preacher, 2 media people, 3 musicians, some hospitality people, etc. But we're gonna have 10 people as our essential team, and then we're gonna have 40 people that could be then in attendance. And the key to that is you got to register. So there's registration that will be available on our website and through our app that you can get to. Michael can clarify that stuff if I'm incorrect on that. But we got to have everybody register so that they can tell us that that they're going to be there, because since we have to limit it. So that's kind of the deal there until the first time that we are without those size restrictions, but still with new guidelines, will be July 19th. Yeah, July 19th. And so lots of precaution going into this. Our kind of motto is cautious, faithfully cautious. So we want to err on the side of caution for the sake of everybody's well-being, their health, and their, even just their kind of the peace of mind, that we're being diligent with hygiene and with, making sure everything's sanitary and social distancing and all of those things. But we all know there's nothing like the church getting together in person. I almost said face to face, but we're not supposed to say that anymore because that's not proper social distancing, but maybe shoulder to shoulder, but just being
back to back.
That's humongous. Back to back. Yes.
Avoid that droplet transmission.
Yes. And so that's the summary version. We've got the information. The plan is up on our website, and so you can kind of check it out in detail. But you can join the house churches. You could host a house church, or at least be considered to host a house church. And then once the door opens further for the in-person gatherings, we'll get people registered. And we're going to do those at 9 and 10:30. And if more people, once we open registration for that, if that gets full quick, we'll add a 3rd gathering. That's perfectly fine as well. And we'll just figure it out, right? That's the motto, figure it out. And so that's what we're doing.
Well, and important to remember too, these things aren't necessarily written in granite, what we've spelled out. It depends on the state's mandates and things like that. But as of right now, just to summarize, we are in phase 1 right now. We've been so since March 15th, which was our first Sunday online, and it will go through till May 31st. Phase 2 is June 7th through 21st, where we will have house churches. Phase 3 is June 28th through July 12th, and then phase 4 is July 19th onward.
Yep.
And
so
one of the interesting,
we're having online the whole time.
Yes.
And then phase 2 forward is house church. Phase 3 forward is all 3: online, house church, and in-person gatherings.
Yeah. And one of the interesting things as we're going through this is we sent out that survey a couple weeks ago to the people of City Point Church, and 75%, just a little bit over 75% of people were ready to re-enter normal life just about as soon as possible, with probably up to 85% being as soon as possible, or 1 to 2 months. So it sounds like when we're able to gather together again as a church, most of the people that make up City Point Church are going to be ready to gather again, which I know all 3 of us are really, really looking forward to.
Yep. Well, I think everybody I've heard from, it's hard to believe we've been in this setting for 2 months now, over 2 months. And I think even more so than just kind of getting back to normal life, as far as you mentioned 75%, I think that more than that in that survey were like, whether life's normal, whether we could go to a restaurant or not, we want to get together with our church, with our
Right.
church family. And so
Right.
that was really encouraging. Even I know Jordan had a Zoom meeting with a bunch of students at one point, and they were expressing the same thing, even though they kind of live online and they're so connected to social media as teenagers normally would be at this point in our world. And yet they're saying, we can't wait to get back together with our church family. That was super encouraging to me. Jordan, maybe
Yeah.
you could tell us a little bit about so we've got some unfortunate but necessary regulations regarding kids when it comes to the phase 3 when we start getting together in person again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just talk through what kids looks like. Yeah. So for that, we're really going to work on identifying some key leaders there. We don't want to because obviously we're not going to have anyone 12 years old or under in the building during that phase, but we still want to provide quality ministry. And so, we're going to be identifying key leaders with the house churches that we're doing, just to lead some kids ministry there. And so we'll be in contact with them, and that'll be a great way for kids. I know we actually had a Zoom call with our kids this last Monday, and they were all excited to see each other, but they were all really excited to be together in person. And so this will be a good opportunity for them at some point to, at least get together with a few other kids and go through the Bible together.
Yeah. And what about your CSM? What about their City Point Student Ministries? What's happening there as far as at what point will they, at what point will you have another gathering or kind of re-enter the weekly gatherings for CSM?
July 1st, that Wednesday would be the first one we're able to get back together.
Okay. Good.
So we'll plan on that, and there'll be a lot of safety precautions and things like that, but that'd be the first time in phase 3 that we're able to all get together on a Wednesday.
Yeah. And that was one of it was funny because as I was thinking through the regathering plan, I was thinking, oh man, the hardest part about this whole thing, I mean, it's pretty tough to find all the personal protective equipment necessary, gloves, masks, hand sanitizer, all of the, temperature guns, those sorts of things that like we're going to have all those on site and make sure that everybody has what they need. Those are tough to find, but the reality is the most difficult part of this is children's ministries. And because kids don't understand social distancing and transmission droplets, or what did you call that? Droplet transmission?
Droplet transmission.
Yeah, they don't get that.
I can tell you, kids do not care about droplet transmission.
Yeah, so once they're we have zero ability to have any sort of control on that. Once they get into a classroom or anything like that, kids just don't get it. So, and it was I've been a part of a group of pastors all across the country, about 200 pastors that have been gathering on Zoom to kind of talk through some of these things. And I remember the week that I had worked through our plan and thinking, oh man, this is the hardest part. I got on that Zoom discussion and that same sentiment was being communicated, like the children's ministries nursery is the hardest part of all this. And I was like, well, at least I'm not alone in feeling like that. So it just feels like such a ripoff to be able to say, yes, we can gather again as the church, but for a window of time, the kids can't be a part of that. That just feels, so I think that's why house church is such a really good model for that, or an option for that. And I'll be eager to see whether or not our people are even interested in house church sort of ministry. And so, we've got to be open to change. We got to be open to doing things that we haven't done before and take advantage of opportunities. And as people who believe in the leading of the Holy Spirit, we go, hey, where's the Spirit blowing? Because we got to set our sails to what the Spirit's doing. And so we'll try to discern that and follow His lead. That's the key.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know one of the things that we've talked about as we've gone over this plan as pastors and elders is the idea of being, is it faithfully cautious or is it cautiously faithful? I'm
faithfully cautious.
Trying to think back which one it is. Yeah. So we're remembering that we are people of faith, but also proceeding with an appropriate amount of caution in this time that we're in. So, like I said, we're looking forward, I know for sure, to gathering again. And even though at the beginning in phase 3 it'll look a little bit different, it's just it's going to be a great time to be together with the family of God. And in the meantime, we'll still have our increased online presence that goes for our Sunday morning gatherings, as well as our kids and youth ministries. So throughout the summer, we'll have those things available for our church family. And so, is there anything else that you wanted to communicate on that, Brent?
No, I think that's it. Just appreciate everybody's patience, and appreciate everybody's prayers. It's heartening to know that your church family is willingly, eagerly trusting us as to lead the church, and is unified in it, and just has expressed so much support and love and patience. So I guess I would just say thank you, because that makes it a whole lot, it's a whole lot nicer. The whole thing is a challenge, but it's sure nice to not have to deal with a bunch of resistance or anything like that. Our culture is so divided, the whole political scene and all that right now is just so disheartening. And so then I come to the church and I go, man, here we are. City Point Church reflects a biblical love and unity that is so contrary to what we see in our culture, that it's just like a refuge, and it's refreshing, and to see the level of just the health of the church family. And so that it's really a blessing.
Sure. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for our first episode of Inside Out. Obviously, heavily dealing with the things that we're going through right now, but it'll for sure kind of morph and change going forward into the future. Jordan, thanks for being on with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now you're probably you need to go take a nap after having Thai food in the parking lot of the Fred Meyer. So we want to make sure that.
Yeah, I got to go get a coffee. Yeah.
Okay. You go do that. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week on the Inside Out podcast.